Oh, folks, welcome back to the Crossing Swords podcast. I hit myself with a mute monster, and your Buffalo Sabres are hitting their stride right now. They're 3-4 on the season, but this is the Crossing Swords podcast presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel. I am Gatesy, joined by Carson. Sir, how are you feeling right now? Buffalo Sabres have almost done a 180 from where we were basically just a week ago.
Yeah, a week ago, a lot of the fan base, and I even say some people that are part of the national media as well, thought season was long gone for the Sabres. All of a sudden, it seems like daily clickbait started coming out. To a certain extent, it seemed, okay, Alex Tuch's not going to re-sign. What are the Sabres going to get back for him? Hearing Dahlin and Thompson are frustrated. All that stuff started coming about. Who's going to be replacing Kevin Adams? We take a breather. A week later, here we are, and the dust has settled. Again, it hasn't been perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but you win 3 out of your last 4 games. Even your one loss to Montreal was a manageable game. You showed fight. That happens. You're not going to win every game, and they look a lot better. They still are an inconsistent team, I think, but a big win last night, nevertheless. Colton Ellis stood on his head a little bit. It wasn't a perfect game by any means. Gatesy, I'm sure we could talk about that. We'll get to the goaltender conversation later. But it's a nice debut out of him. Nevertheless, a win, a big win at that against a conference foe. The offense showed up, 4 goals. Jack Quinn looked phenomenal as well. But right now, this is why we talk about it. It's early in the year. You got to let things play out a little bit. For all we know, the Sabres win their next 10. They lose their next 10. So we just got to take our time here. Once we get to that 10, 15, 20 game mark, that's when you really start to have a tell on what your team looks like, and we're slowly approaching that. But right now, a lot better this week than it was last week.
Oh, yeah. I feel like last week it was, is this team going to win a single game this season? And you talked about just like all the headlines and the clickbait. The national media on the Buffalo Sabres pisses me off to no extent, because when things are bad, they are punching down like you cannot ever imagine. And I don't know if like I see Chicklets all the time do it. Like, I mean, all the TSN, but the second the Sabres have any relevancy of doing well, there's, all these things. Are the Sabres back? Are the Sabres a wagon? Is this the best team ever? It's, one thing, coming from us, coming from Buffalo teams, but it just feels like every time I see a post about the Sabres from anyone that's not in the area, it's the most just, how can we get clicks out of just a fan base that is so emotionally turmoiled right now? Steve, good to see you. There is hope. And yeah, we're going to get to some of these big guys, Tage, Tuch, Dahlin. They're not really producing at the level that we thought, but the Sabres are still finding ways to win games, which is something that gives me a lot of hope. We can just hop into it now, honestly. So even look back to yesterday's game. The Sabres scored 4 goals. No points for Tage, no points for Dahlin. Tuch didn't have any either. He had, net front a couple goals, but is it weird for you, Carson, to see the Sabres, one, have success, win games without their big guys carrying the team? And is this concerning to you, or is this something that's like, oh, this is kind of a good thing, because once they hit their stride and, these guys are going to find their game, this team is going to be off and running at that point?
It's a tough question to answer right off the bat. I remember years past, right? It was, well, when Eichel and Reinhart don't perform, there's no depth typically. I get they had the log line those years, but it seemed like when those guys weren't performing at the top level, the team was typically in trouble. And I guess even to that certain extent, these past few years, it seemed like when Tage, Tuch, and those top guys, Paterka, weren't producing, they struggled to generate a little bit of offense. But they've been a good 5-on-5 team for a majority of these last 2 to 3 years. So I think that's just kind of a testament to the team kind of and the talent that they have. Zucker, he's looked sharp. Hopefully he's going to be all right. Hopefully McLeod, he's looked fine as well. So right now, I don't know if it's something that's sustainable. I think time's going to only tell whether or not they can win without their big guns. But when you look at it, whenever this NHL app wants to load here, Dahlin, he's got 5 assists in 7 games. You can live with that. That's not a bad thing. I thought Dahlin overall, I thought he's been fine. Not spectacular, but I think he's been all right. You can live with how he's playing. Tage has got 4 points, 1 goal in 7 games. You're going to want him to be a little bit better. But I will say that I talked about this last time. These two guys are typically guys who are a little bit slower to start the year, and then they pick things up as the season goes on. Tage seemed like he's forcing things a little bit. I will say, passing's been a little bit off. Defensively, he's that was never really his strength, but you still like to see him get pucks on net. He's shooting the puck a ton still, which is great to see. And then Tuck, I will say there's a tweet out there last night that said Tuck was kind of loafing it because he's trying to play it safe. I couldn't disagree anymore. I think after that tweet, Alex Tuck decided to turn up a little bit.
Got to the tweet. Yeah.
Right. He literally intermission had to have seen it. It's the only reason that, it turned around. But he got to the net, did all the little things right. And he's a guy, just an absolute workhorse, flies around the ice. It's a guy we want to bring back for sure. And every night it seems like his presence is you could just see it out there, and you see the name Alex Tuck quite a lot.
100%. And I think Steve might have infiltrated our group chat somehow and seeing the rundown. Like Tyson Kozak earning that fourth line center spot, 100%. He has goals now in back-to-back games. If the Sabres are getting consistent goal scoring from their fourth line, that is, I mean, you can't ask for anything more. He's been awesome. A guy I've been huge on since he joined the Sabres. He didn't start the year on the team, but he got in and he's earned his spot. I feel like that's what he's done basically his entire time here is he shows up, he does his job, he gets out. You look back to last year, he got a call up, and I was like, why are we calling up Tyson Kozak when we have, these higher prospects in Rochester? But he plays the game such, in a great way. Similarly like a Josh Stone, a guy that shows up, he does the little things right. He forechecks, he hits, he's good in his own end. And the way he plays smart in the offensive zone where he just gets to the net. You see the goals he's scoring. It's not like he's going between the legs. He's not, scoring one-timers on the power play. He's driving the net. He's creating traffic. If he's not scoring, his line mate is. He's such a dog and such a big thing for this team. And Ryan, I guess we can hop to the goalie stuff, get into it now. 3 goalies. Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen called up today. He played last night in Rochester, stopping 21 of 23. And yeah, after the performance last night from Colton Ellis, Alex Lyon has been great for the Sabres. Now we have a question. What's this look like in net for the Buffalo Sabres? Carson, first off, do you see this as a problem, or as, maybe my favorite voice, Zach Sheldon, says, a champagne problem really for the Buffalo Sabres?
I think this is the classic case of it's a good problem to have, right? Right now, Luukkonen is the guy that we've seen in the past. He can win you hockey games. And when he's playing at his best, he can be a top 15 goaltender in the NHL. But he's also shown inconsistencies in the past. Colton Ellis, I think the jury's still out with him. You can never really gauge somebody guy off of one game. I thought that was a solid first game. Wasn't anything perfect. But again, younger guy. He's 26, I believe. Earned his way through the ECHL. Played a ton of games in the AHL. Here he is now, makes his debut. And the results were there in the AHL. You can't really say the same thing about Luukkonen's type of development. I get every development path is different, but, it makes you think a little bit. And then Lyon, what else can you say? The guy has been lights out. He's a guy we saw a few years ago, absolutely boned the Sabres out of making the playoffs because he decided to go on an absolute tear towards the end of the season for the Florida Panthers. Even got a little bit of playoff action that year over Bobrovsky. But Lyon, what a start it's been to him. And everybody loves to crap on Kevin Adams. I want to say that is a tremendous ad. At the time, it made sense. He's a guy that could step in, maximum split 50-50 reps with Luukkonen. And he's a veteran who's had some success in multiple different locations. And here he is right now, Buffalo. How can you not love the guy? Every time he talks, he's a great dude. It just sounds like he's a great dude. And boys love him, and he's been off to a great start. So right now, I'm not overly concerned about it. It's not ideal. I think as the season plays out, though, you're going to have a decision to make on who goes where and what happens. But this is a lot different situation than the Comrie, Luukkonen, and Levi situation, where all those guys were either unproven or struggling at the time. Right now, you got 3 guys who you feel confident in, which is nice to have.
Yeah, 100%. And Ryan, he's, won wherever he's gone. And, last night it was weird. I tweeted out a little bit ago just how quickly a game can change. Detroit had a wide open back door.
Yes.
And they shot it right into Ellis. And the Sabres scored shortly after that. If they score there, we have a tie game instead of being up 2. It's weird. I think he had a lot of good plays, and especially waiting 10 minutes to get his first shot. I thought he looked really good. So excited to see what he can do from there. And this kind of is a champagne problem for the Sabres a bit, where it's not ideal in the sense of you want to have a concrete plan, especially in net. But if it is, you have Alex Line playing well, Colton Ellis stepped in out of the blue and played well for this team. What's to say UPL can't do that? You look at the Sabres as a whole and how their team has played the past couple of years, especially with UPL and net, they haven't been the best in their own end. And if the Sabres are, not only getting the job done, but, really exceeding defensively with these guys in net, I think that's a good sign that, if UPL can't succeed with this here, like that might be the conversation of, okay, is this a fit? And even JB, why rush UPL back? I'm kind of in that same boat. I thought I'd get a couple more games in Rochester to feel things out, and also kind of let the Sabres goaltending feel itself out too, where these guys are having success right now. You bring in a third, not that's going to, ideally throw things off, but now it's just, okay, Alex Line plays the first 6 games. Colton Ellis waits 6 games to play. What's this going to be adding another guy in to this rotation? And Steve, not a big UPL guy. His passing's thrown out the window. Sorry, I can't read, Steve. It's been a long day, but yeah, it's exactly what I was saying. The Sabres defense in the past hasn't been the same, and if they're getting success now with career backups, career AHL, ECHL guys, that's a good sign that he can step in. And JB, he thought Ellis looked really comfortable. The scrums are close. I like him getting pucks away from the front of the net with rebounds. Yeah, someone on Twitter too, Carson, was saying he was good with rebounds. And one thing I liked about Ellis, and one thing that I think is going to be the biggest test for UPL, and I mean, he has a future here in Buffalo, was timely saves. Ellis, at the end of the game, he stopped all 13 shots faced in the third period. When the Sabres needed a save, they got it. He had a couple big breakaway saves throughout the game. Sometimes he isn't the prettiest goalie to watch, but he'll make saves, which is the most important thing. And UPL, I like how he plays. He's very smooth. He's big. He moves well. But sometimes, and a lot of times throughout the career, he's really lacked making that key save. So I guess when UPL gets that first start for you, is there something you're looking at of okay, as long as he looks good or as long as they win, is there kind of a threshold for you that, after game 1 for UPL and the Sabres this year, it's okay, I have an idea of how I'm feeling right now?
That's tough.
Situations are situational.
To jump even a further step past this question, it's when is he going to make this start?
Good point.
Because they have the back-to-back coming up this weekend. Mm-hmm. I believe they have somebody maybe Monday.
I believe so.
I think it might be Columbus or something. Yes. Regardless, it's a fast turn of the schedule here.
Yes.
I don't think he's going to get one against Toronto. That's just me fully speculating. I don't know anything.
Columbus on the 30th.
Yep. So we'll have to see. It's weird. I don't know when they're going to fit him in because you have the back-to-back. So here's the opportunity you could say, at least it's a good PR move. Lyon, let's say, gets Friday. Ellis gets Saturday or whatever. It could be flipped around. And then Luukkonen gets the game against Columbus. And
I like that.
It could be like that. But as far as his performance goes, I don't know. I don't think one game's the right solution. He's played, almost 100 plus NHL games now. So he's got some experience down. It's been inconsistent. You remember James Reimer outplayed him towards the end of the last season. Yep. I'm curious to see how long the leash is with UPL. They gave him a lot of confidence as far as in press conferences and everything. They boosted him. They're like, hey, he's our guy. We gave him the contract. We still believe in him. He's our guy. So I think there's confidence still there. We've seen him perform. It's just been few and far between at times. I think Luukkonen's still a good goalie. He's still got potential. That's still untapped. Lyon, again, we know we're kind of getting in him. I don't think it's going to be this level the whole year. He's going to fall back to earth at some point in time. Mm-hmm. Colton Ellis, big question mark still.
Yeah.
He made the big saves when you needed it most, though, last night. In the third
most
period.
Important thing.
The first period, I was terrified. I'm I wasn't used to watching him play. I thought we were going to get shelled. And then second period, he struggled to move the puck, but made some big saves on breakaways from Larkin. And he turned up when he needed it most. And that's exactly what you need out of your goalie. And we'll have to see, though. It's weird, having 3 goalies back. I would like to see maybe Luukkonen get another start or two so we could just push this problem down the road and kind of punt it away for a minute. But you got 3 goalies who you at least trust right now. Whether that'll be the same story in 2 weeks, who knows? But I think Luukkonen deserves his period of time, considering he is still coming off an injury.
100%. And I think I agree with you. I wish they would have just kicked this can down a little bit. It would have been a
Yeah,
lot easier if, like, someone gets shelled against the Maple Leafs. Like, okay,
right.
we'll give Luukkonen a shot. We'll call him up. He seems ready to go. And yeah, I think the biggest thing is just this Sabres team and what they need out of their goaltending is much different this year than in previous years, where the Sabres needed UPL to stand on his head a lot, and he did that in previous, iterations of this team of making these big backdoor saves. But right now, it's just they need to have him to make a save in the third period. Not let in a weak one. Because you can see even the game, the third game the Sabres lost when. The 8-4 game against Ottawa that they won. The third period, they kind of had the wheels fall off a little bit. They
Yes.
gave up some early goals, and that just felt like a Sabres team of past where they couldn't get a big save to seal a game. Instead, they had their offense really find another level. They put 8 behind the Senators, and they won the game that way. I don't think we're going to see too many of those games for the Sabres in the future, so they're going to need their goalie to step up, and their defense, for the most part, has done that. I saw a comment up here from JB earlier, just talking about some of the depth additions for the Sabres of Timmins and Samuelson. Here it is. And we can get to this point too, because we talked about it in the pre-show. Again, Carson, I think this is your burner. JB's back at it again. But the Sabres have had their depth show up this season, whether that be on offense with Kozak and Doan, or defensively with Timmins and Samuelson being thrust in the top 4. Who's maybe an under-the-radar guy for you that's either surprised you or, has just been a big, part of this Sabres team right now that is the reason they're finding success?
I think right now it's Tyson Kozak. I think he is a guy that a lot of Sabres fans probably weren't really high on, and justifiably so compared to the prospect pool that's still down in Rochester. But when you look at your ideal fourth line center, let's say, or bottom 6 forward for what that's worth, you want a guy that is going to make his name. He's going to be impactful, let's say, in the game in that 10 minutes that he's going to play, whether that's on a penalty kill or checking somebody, playing strong defense. I think Kozak fits that description perfectly. You see him last night in the dying minutes, the net's empty. We're throwing 48 on the ice. That's Lindy showing trust right now that he's got that Kozak's earned that trust from Lindy this early in the season. Remember, he didn't even start up here. So for him to come out there with the net empty, 2-goal lead, he goes out there, lays the absolute boom on one of the Red Wings players in the corner. You love to see that. And then 2 goals in 2 straight games, going to the net hard. That's what you like to see. That's exactly what you want to see out of your fourth line center. In 27 games he's played, 7 points, projected for a little over 21 points for 82 games. You're going to live with that. You're not going to live and die by your offense or your fourth line center. And he's a guy that plays solid defense. He hits. He helps drop the gloves if he needs to. So it's a good draft pick.
Working too.
Yeah, great 7th round draft pick there by Adams. I know, again, he gets his fair share of heat, but you gotta be fair with him. And then the other guy I'd say is Zach Benson. How can you not say Zach Benson? The guy's got the fishbowl on. I forgot who said it, but it was perfectly described. He lost aura, but he gained dog. And yes. Benson, the whole situation, he looks so ugly with the fishbowl on, but it doesn't matter because he's producing six assists through 4 games. The guy is noticeable in every single game. Still an absolute beast when it comes to his work ethic. Passing's been off the charts. Defensively, he's consistently getting back. And even last night, final 2 minutes, it looks like they have a chance on a good quality opportunity. What does Benson do? Dives right in front of the shot lane, blocks the shot, and Buffalo's able to get it clear. So those 2 guys, just under the radar, they're not going to stick out in national media as it is right now, but they've both done tremendous work here early in the year, and hopefully they can continue that because they're going to be needed if the Sabres are going to get themselves here in a playoff position.
100%. And before I get to mine, I want to go through a couple comments. Ender, good to see you here. I know you're at the game last night in Rochester. And yeah, UPL looked good and fighting up the 6-on-3 at the end of the game. That's the biggest thing for UPL. In those big moments, end of the game, pressure's on, make those saves, get from there. He did that. So excited to see how he looks when that first game is going to happen. We'll find out. I come here from Steve, and I have something I'm going to say, Carson, that might put me on a watch list. But okay. I mean, it's kind of me and Steve are on the same page. He says, could GMKA end up the hero? The Doan, Timmins, Lyon, and Kessering offseason doesn't look too bad right about now. And he's right. I mean, the additions that Adams brought in, is there one that you can look at and be, oh, this was a really bad move for the Sabres? I mean, the biggest knock right now is, Josh Norris is injured. You trade away Dylan Cousins, JBD for a guy that's, hurt it year in and year out. But it's definitely something to think about where the Sabres are really being led by this depth that was brought in this offseason of Josh Stone, who's been fantastic. Connor Timmins has stepped up in such a big way. He's my unsung hero right now. He has been phenomenal in the role that he has he was kind of an afterthought. He's going to really drag down this bottom pairing with Samuelson. They're going to stink up the place. They're not going to be good. And they have been, rock stars having to step in so early with Kessering being out, with a lot of the injuries to the Sabres decor to start the season. They jumped in and have been really solid for the Sabres, blocking shots. Timmins had 2 assists last night. Samuelson had 1. These guys are, adding a depth to this defense that we haven't seen. And it's weird to think of like how big an improvement can, upgrading from like Connor Clifton be, but we're really seeing how much better this team is when their depth defensemen, their depth are actively contributing basically every game. Bunty, I see you in here. I'm going to add you to the stage and see if we can get this to work for you. But Bunty, are you here with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just driving right now, which is going to be why I'm audio only for
Good man.
10 minutes until I get home. But I didn't want to miss the entire first half of the show. And I have a lot of thoughts that I have to get off my chest. So,
okay. Well, I'm going to is there an area you want to start in, Bunty? I know we can go goaltending, we can go kind of vibes of the team. Where, and in your head right now, what's something that you just need to get off your chest?
all right, like I got a lot of positive things actually, which is funny. Ever since I said I was going to go heel on this team, they've actually been playing really well. So number one, there is a different feel to this team compared to previous years, and I think that's undeniable after the last 4 games. All of the people that were belittling the Paterka trade look foolish right now. Josh Stone is exactly what this team has needed, like the last 5-10 years on this roster. And we haven't even seen Kesselring yet. And you see a lot of guys stepping up around him. So that's number one. I do think that this team has a much better makeup than what they've had in previous years. And number two, I do think we need to talk about the goaltending. Alex Lyon has been fantastic. And Colton Ellis, it's 1 game. But I think there's legitimate pressure on UPL to step his game up. And if he doesn't, look out. They could move on from him some point this season. The chance after chance after chance for UPL, it's over. He needs to put up or shut up, or he will not be with the Buffalo Sabres at the end of the season.
Yeah, I mean, he's 26 right now, so it's kind of it. And we're seeing the Sabres have success, Bunty, with, Alex Lyon, with Colton Ellis, even though it's just 1 game. At what point, how long is your leash with UPL? I'll ask you that.
Very short. Very short. Now, what has been the narratives over the past how many seasons? It's been, well, this team defensively is horrible in front of him. How can you expect anybody to have good stats with these guys? Well, last I checked, Kesselring isn't playing with the Sabres right now, which means you have Dahlin and Byram as your top pair. That's the same as last year. You have power playing. Yes, Timmins is new, but besides Timmins, you've been playing with Samuelson. You've been playing with Bryson at times. Like, you're not playing with this all-star amazing core of defensemen. And Dahlin's a -7 right now. So it's not like they're playing – you suddenly got this amazing crew in front. And yes, I understand. You don't have Cousins. You don't have Paterka, 2 of the least defensively responsible forwards that have been on the team in recent years. But Alex Lyon has a .931 save percentage right now, or was that Ellis? And the other one is a .924. Like, come on. Like, we haven't seen goaltenders crack the 900 mark in recent years outside of Reimer at the end of the year. So I really do think, like, the pressure's on UPL right now because all these other goalies are showing, yeah, we can get by with what's in front of us. And yeah, maybe they changed their style a little bit. Yeah, maybe they have a couple guys that have built in more continuity and maybe buy into what Ruff is coaching up. But if we see UPL go out there and he has an 885 save percentage through
Oh,
5
yeah.
games, it's over. Like, because here's the thing. The whole long-term plan has always been for Levi to be that guy. Levi's still young. They still want him to develop into it, and we'll see if he does or not. But Colton Ellis, yeah, maybe he was a short-term waiver pickup, and they try to get him to Rochester, and maybe St. Louis claims him. But here's the thing about Colton Ellis. He's been great in the American Hockey League the last 2 years. Devin Levi is great in the American Hockey League. And now you got the point where even Georgiev, who's probably not going to be with the Sabres organization for long, is in the American Hockey League. You have an abundance of goaltenders. So if you have a guy that's going to be 26 soon who continues to not get the job done, why does he deserve more opportunities? It just makes no sense. And I understand Zach Sheldon's point, who loves UPL and wants to stand up for him and talks about his 30-game sample size 2 seasons ago. Like, it's been awful for him outside of that 30-game sample his entire professional career. His stats in Rochester below average, his stats at every level below average. And I get it. Like, he hasn't had much help. He might be fundamentally sound, but at some point you need to prove it. And when you have 2 other goalies in the system, because I'll say Ellis is a in the system type guy right now, that have shown they can get it done at the American Hockey League, how many more opportunities am I supposed to give UPL?
Yeah, it's to the point where he's 26. He has to get these results because, again, if you're having guys like Alex Line and Colton Ellis get results, they need it from him, and they just need those timely saves. He got them last night in Rochester. We'll see what happens here, and that's going to be the difference maker for the Sabres and why they're winning games now is those timely saves. I saw some comments of just, yeah, Jake, they're getting the first save, and overall team defense is better. How they're playing has definitely been a big game change where they're not having as many, rush chances backdoor. Colton Ellis made some big breakaway saves last night, which I feel like the Sabres really haven't given up many at all this season. But overall, having that is such a big improvement for this team. And just, Bunty, I'll ask you one last thing before we go back to Carson. The Tage Dahlin, you talked a bit about Dahlin being -7, but this team is being led right now through their depth. Are you worried about that at all with these top guys, not leading this team on the score sheet, or is this something that gives you a little?
It's the opposite. I'm encouraged by it. If they're getting by and looking solid when their top 2 players are playing poorly, that's a sign that this team is coming together.
Yes.
That they can get by without their stars being stars. Because that Tage is going to find it eventually. That Rasmus Dahlin is going to find it eventually. But the fact that they're getting by and looking decent without them being great means that they have more options and they've discovered more ways of winning games. Like, think about how bad special teams was last year, and we all hammered them in the first 3 games of the season when the power play stunk. The power play, the guys are actually moving around right now. Josh Doan has been a revelation to the power play. His ability to get in front of the net. Zucker is finishing. They have guys in the right spots right now. And this is a lineup that doesn't even have Danforth or Greenway in their 4th line, which probably can help out their 4th line a little bit right there. Which, like, in the past, those might be guys that are playing the 3rd line. And
early this season, Danforth was on the 2nd.
And look at Quinn stepping up. Quinn's playing with confidence. Why? Because he's for the first time in a while playing where he probably should be in the lineup. And these are the small things. And over a course of a season, if they can get the rest of the guys to really start believing in themselves, playing with more confidence, it's going to be good for the entire organization. And even like Zach Benson, a guy like that, like 3rd year in the league, people were like, oh my good, like, how can we depend on a 20-year-old that's getting 30 points a year? Well, you put him with the right guys and players that complement his play style. And then suddenly you see a guy that has a much higher ceiling that fits the mold of what they drafted. And I'll say this one point before tossing to Carson, because I got to go inside and then I'll get my camera up. The goalie situation too is another, beyond the whole UPL conversation. We need to talk about how we now view the rotation. I don't think this is even like, I think at minimum we're looking 50-50 for Alex Lyon now. Like, this is no longer it's UPL's net and Alex Lyon is the backup. Like, Lindy Ruff rides the hot goalie, and Alex Lyon is the hot goalie. He might start 45-plus games this year at this current pace. And
Mhm.
you know what? I don't even blame him. In ideal situation, you look at the goalie depth with Levi and Rochester. I still see a scenario where Levi is the backup next year. So he's not going to be in
Yeah.
He's not going to want to be in Rochester much longer.
No.
So if they do the 3 goalie rotation, which I think they should, I think you might have a legitimate competition between some of these guys in the upcoming years. Plus Carson, and I'll join you guys in a few minutes.
We'll see you on the other side, Bunty. We'll hold the fort down until then. But Carson, I just had a quick question for you on just, the Sabres right now are having guys step up. We talked about depth. Jack Quinn, 3 points last night, 6 points in 7 games. How are you feeling about him so far? And, do you think this is sustainable for him to, put up some monster games here and there and help this team win games down the stretch?
It's a hard question again, because this is a guy who the sky was the limit for his potential a few years ago before he suffered the Achilles injury, and then he dealt with injuries. It's been tough for him as far as his health. And then he comes back last year, plays pretty much a full season. Struggles starting the year, and then it seemed like the last 30 games or so, he started to turn it around, was a little bit over a 0.5 points per game type of player, which I guess is kind of where he was at before the injury. He's still a guy who he's not going to be your ideal prototypical player in the corners, I don't think. But again, he's not drafted for that. I think he's a guy that's a natural-born goal scorer coming out of the Ottawa 67s organization. He was scoring 50-plus goals. So this is a guy who his shot's his best attribute. Last night made some nice plays. The second or his first assist, I believe,
was Zucker on the rush.
Zucker, that was a little lucky.
Beautiful. It was beautiful.
Regardless, yes, it looked beautiful. He 6 points in 7 games. You can't ask for really much of a better start for a guy like Jack Quinn. I remember back in the summer we were talking about him, and I think Bundt put him at 50 points. I was a little higher on him. Yes, this is self-glaze. I had him at 60 points. But I do like Jack Quinn. I think he's a guy still with some potential. It's just getting over that injury physically, and then also I think it does take a toll mentally. You come back, you don't start the year how you want to last year. It probably leads to frustration, and that's a mental challenge as well. So it's just getting some reps. He gets the extension on top of that too. It maybe gives a little bit of confidence, and now he's got some guys he's playing around, and it's good to see. It's good to see Jack Quinn. I hope this is what we see going forward. There's real no tell. He can be a streaky player as well. Very similar. It's kind of a common trait with some of these guys on the team. But I'm excited for Jack Quinn. I think he's starting to play with some confidence, and hopefully that confidence can lead to some results.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And Bunty said before he, left was, they put him in a spot to succeed. And I think Jack Quinn really does bring something to this lineup that really no one else can, between his shot, which you saw last night with on the power play. They keep him on the second unit. And if the Sabres can have that second unit contribute, we see how well that top unit is. Their power play is finally clicking at this point in the season. And he brings such a fun dynamic where you saw Jason Zucker, the old man, going in a rush with Jack Quinn, and he looked like he was 22 again. Yeah. When he's on, he brings that speed. He on the rush. We look back to the kids line just a few years ago, where that's their whole game was on the rush with speed. And I'm glad Jack Quinn still has that in his arsenal. He can play with guys that can set him up for a shot, where he can set guys up too. We saw it last night with 2 assists. He's such a wild card for this team. And if the Sabres can get him producing, can get him on the score sheet, that is such a big thing for this team moving forward. And a big thing for us moving forward too is getting Mike Bundt back on the show. Bunty, welcome back in. How are you feeling? And I know we talked a little bit about Jack Quinn before, but what are your thoughts on him so far through 7 games with 6 points?
Yeah, I mean, got off to a little bit of a slow start the first couple games, but the last game was probably one of his best games of his career. 3 points, going through the center of the ice with aggression, setting guys up, then has the blast on the one-timer. I think Quinn is a big piece of this puzzle. I said it before the year. I think on the third line, that's a proper fit for him. he should be good on the third line. I mean, you're not talking about a youngster without experience anymore. You're talking about a guy that has been playing the league for several years. We all know what his main attribute is. It's sniping. Set him up to score. And Lindy Ruff said it in his press conference the other day, his media scrum. A lot of guys, you might need 6-7 shots in a game to really get that one opportunity. With Quinn, you get 1 or 2 shots, he's going to put one of them in the back of the net if he gets a good angle. For Quinn, it's about finding the spot and having players find him. And I think that's been the struggle at the NHL level is combination of right line mates and also developing and getting to where he needs to be. But I think we're seeing him take a step up, and I would love nothing more than him to just continue to be successful on this third line, be a 20 to 25 goal scorer. I know at one point we thought like he could be a 30 plus. Let's try to get to 20 to 25, and then maybe baby steps at some point he can take it to the next level.
Yeah, 100% agree. And like I said, that's that depth scoring that the Sabres have had. But I'll ask you one more because Carson had talked about this earlier. The Sabres, they're finding success because of their depth. It's not because they're being carried by their top guys, which I don't know the last time I've been able to say that about this team. But is there a name that's really stuck out to you? I actually didn't answer this myself, but Carson went with Tyson Kozak as a guy that's, been your favorite unsung hero so far. I actually went with Connor Timmins. It's coming back to me now. But out of the Sabres depth that's kind of been carrying the team so far, is there a name that sticks out to you as like, this is good? I wasn't expecting this much of a contribution from this player.
It's a good question. I really haven't even thought about that off the top of my head. Just trying to think, like going through the list of guys so far.
Yeah,
I mean, you felt good about Doan, and I think I felt good about Doan, but I didn't know he was going to be at this level right away. Yeah. I mean,
but even like Zach Benson,
Alex Lyon's an obvious choice just because he's been on a tear, and that Timmins is a good choice. But you and I talked about Timmins this offseason and how even though he's had a limited career in terms of playing time, like he's had good metrics. So that makes sense. I do think Samuelsson is better than what a lot of people recognize in a smaller role where he's not going up against top forwards. I think he's actually kind of valuable on a third line pair. And that's something that you and me, I think, both kind of thought as well.
Yeah, we were happy with him there.
And I'm just trying to think of anybody else throughout the lineup. A lot of it is what you would expect to this point. Zucker's performed. McLeod's been maybe a little underwhelming. Tuck has been a little underwhelming. Same with Thompson and Dahlin. There really isn't anybody that is overperforming expectations to a crazy level. I'd say maybe Quinn is the guy. Quinn and Doan would be the two guys that would probably be my unsung hero, and maybe Timmins. And we'll see when Kesselring comes back. I think he's going to be a big part of that too. And it's kind of crazy. Like we talked about, you and me, Gatesy, were live when that Peterka trade went down. And the initial reaction was so negative that entire evening. And people were like, well, Kesselring's good, but this Doan dude has 19 points. Oh, he's son of Shane Doan. That's cool.
That's cool.
And then you like a couple days later, you look at the metrics. And I was with you. Like when the Utah fans were like, oh, we're going to miss this guy. And when you start looking at it, like, oh, he's a two-way player. And, oh, he might have scoring touch. I was like, you know what? Maybe he is something like that could turn into it. Somebody special. But he's been good right off the bat. So I if you're saying unsung, it has to be Doan. Because
100%.
As people thought he might develop into, he's already doing it.
And I remember mock lineups from the offseason too had him on the fourth line as a fourth line guy for the Sabres, and now he's just like set in stone second liner for the team and has just been awesome.
What does that tell you though? Like it tells you how little we truly know about the players throughout the rest of the league. And I don't mean this as something to pounce on fans or just hockey in general. But like when you're watching basketball and you trade for like a 6 man from another NBA team, you'll be like, oh, this guy averages like 11 points a game. Like he's going to be pretty good. Like you probably watched him play at North Carolina or Texas so like you have an idea who this guy is. Like NFL, like if it's like a receiver that's been underwhelming, like a Kadarius Toney, you at least know, like, well, he was good in Florida and like he had potential. Josh Doan, like in hockey, when guys are getting drafted at 18 and then certain guys are going to college and they don't put up 40, 50 points right away, we just have this tendency of being like, oh, he's 24 years old, 23 years old, and he's only had 19 points a season. Guy must suck.
Yeah.
And we forget, like, not everybody is a top 10 pick playing in the NHL from the age 20, 21, 22. And some of them come into the league at 22, 23, 24, and they need a little bit of an adjustment time. And like, you look back at all the reactions to that trade now, like, what would you have said the Sabres really needed going into the offseason? One, somebody to pair with Owen Power. Yep. Two, more physicality and an offensive two-way forward that can add some physicality, grit, toughness, and help the power play. Bingo. Like maybe Kevin Adams, and I'm not going to praise him, but maybe he isn't as big of an idiot as what like the fan base wants to make him out to be, because this trade is looking like a home run. And we're only 7 games into the season. And I don't think fans – and we haven't even seen Kesselring on the ice yet.
Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing, Carson. I don't know how you feel about that. And just have the Sabres' needs from the offseason like been met?
Well, before the I guess, yeah. So it's just complicated because like before you trade Peterka, you don't really look at the top 6 as a position of need. And then you trade Peterka, and then everyone was saying, okay, well, we're one middle 6, the top 6 player away from being a playoff team. But the initial needs before the top 6 need became a thing without Peterka, yeah, they've hit this out of the park without a doubt. Alex Lyon so far has been arguably an unsung hero himself, because people had some concerns about him and how consistent he could be, but so far so good. Defensively, Kesselring is still – you expect him to be pretty good. He's been pretty good. Can he take that next step with Owen Power? We'll have to see. But Josh Doan flying down the ice just every game. Offensive production's been there. Defensively, he's been solid. Power play, he's made that thing come to life. Just overall, again, I'm higher on Kevin Adams than a majority of Saberhood is, but I thought at the time of the trade, I was a little disappointed with the return. But again, a day or two later, you start to look at the metrics, and you could see why that the scouting department and the management decided this is the Josh Doan's part of the deal. If he's not part of the deal, we're not gonna do this thing. So you could see the outline that management had. So far, it's worked really, really well. I think we'll have to see if it's consistent going forward. It's early to really have any certainty with this lineup going forward. They've been an inconsistent team these last 3 years, and they've been fragile these last 3 years. With that said, I don't think they're that fragile so far this year. You lose 3 in a row. Past teams might have lost 5 in a row. And against Ottawa, you could start to see it slipping away. It's an, oh, shit, here we go again. Lindy calls a timeout, smart veteran coach move, and the guys find themselves. So that was really an encouraging sign to see. You go out, you beat Florida, who's banged up on top of it. You play an okay game against Montreal. Like, I felt that game was winnable, even how they played. And then you come back and beat Detroit. And now you have a huge opportunity with the home-to-home, with the home-and-home against Toronto. So far, so good with the mental health of this team. But we'll have to see. I think overall this offseason is looking pretty good. Still to be determined, though.
And you know what it also showed? It shows that, like, everybody mocks the playing tougher, like, hockey.
Oh, yeah.
And it shows, like, there is something to that. And, like, what I get frustrated with is, like, there's a middle ground. When you're saying that playing tougher, you're not saying, like, we want 10 Beck Malensteins on our team. You're saying you want Josh Doans. You want Zach Bensons. You want, like, Zuckers and Alex Tucks. You want guys that their skill isn't their only attribute, that they can play a two-way game, that they can contribute on a forecheck, that they can provide scoring in a variety of ways. The Sabres for so long have been skill dependent. And when a team shut down the skill part, they had no other answers. Now, it's nice when your skill scores 4 goals on your 7 opportunities and you light up the lamp. But then the next 3 games when teams are stopping you at the blue line and you can't dangle your way around and you don't have the physicality to forecheck, you're screwed. Like what this team is showing now is in their middle 6, they have a couple different attributes, and that's important. And it's still a young team. Will it be enough to get to the playoffs? I don't know, but it's like the same thing when in football, everybody's like, just pass the ball 45 times a game. It's nice in theory. It's fun to watch, but how many teams that throw the ball 40 times a game win consistently? Not many, because on a game-by-game basis, you're not going to get the same results. Sometimes you just need to pound the rock and do it the old school way, because that can deliver more consistency. And having a forecheck, having guys that do the grinding, that do the dirty work, that gets you consistency. Because when the guys are off the mark with their shot, or Tage isn't going the way you want Tage to go, you have other guys that you can depend on. And this is kind of what I was screaming from the rooftops after a 91-point season. They went all in on like Quinn, Peterka, Cousins, and like, cool, nice. Like, they got a lot of skill. But when teams take away that, how are you going to adjust to it? And this team now, they have some answers. And we'll just have to see if they can keep it up.
And that's important too. Like this comment from Andy saying the Sabres, lead the league in posts with 15. There's like a serious conversation that could be had. The Sabres could be 0-7 if their, depth wasn't producing at the level they were when, your top guys aren't leading the team anymore. And I think we saw that in previous years where if Dahlin goes out, the Sabres go on a 13-game losing streak, that now you have guys that can step in, that can play a game in a much better, much more sustainable way, that if you don't have to rely on 2 guys to carry your team 82 games to try to will a team to the postseason, you have actual assets on your team that, a team isn't going to be able to shut down all 3 of your lines if they're rolling. Now the Sabres have that opportunity where it's not just they have one top line and they're just going to try to survive with the rest. And that's something that I think we've all been wanting for. And that's kind of been the big conversation of, they need to have that fire because you can't win with just skill. And this question from Steve, does it really matter if carrying 3 goalies when you have Rochester conveniently an hour and a half down the road? In terms of, Colton Ellis is still waiver eligible. So if they got rid of him, he'd go back on waivers for St. Louis. And yeah, I think they're just kind of at a point where they're going to have to see what happens on the ice with this goaltending. And I don't know. I know we've talked about it in depth this season of just like, you bring in Georgiev, you sign Ellis, Levi's still there. You have UPL Lyon. I think the Sabres at the point, they're going to play whoever has the hot hand. That should be their mentality going forward. But
it does matter, by the way. It does matter. This is the exact opposite of the 3 goalies the previous.
Yes.
Like the goalies sucked then. And it was like, well, who cares? Like they all suck. It's not going to make a difference.
Yes.
This is more like the longer they hold on to Ellis, that means they have doubts about UPL. Because if they have no doubts, by the way, Gatesy, I'm
such a good comparison. I was big on that
OTD, he is obsessed with Steph Talov stuff.
The comedian, yeah. I looked her up. I was like,
problems.
I think we're related.
He made me look it up, and you know what? Just ignore him.
No, I like it.
But the 3 goalie thing now, like the longer they hold on to Ellis, it's just sending a message to UPL, like, dude, better show up. Because if UPL comes out and he has like a 9-10 save percentage through like 4 or 5 games, well, then they can probably safely move on from Ellis. He can get reclaimed, or they get him to Rochester and you move on. But if UPL is struggling through his first 3, 4, 5 starts and Ellis continues to perform at a high level, they're going to try to shop him. I guarantee it. So we'll see how it goes down. But is that even the worst scenario in the world? Ellis would be a cheap backup. Lions playing at a high level, and you still have insurance in Rochester. So in OTD's commenting, he's not going anywhere. So he has the answers for us. We don't even need to have the show. OTD can just.
Why we've been playing games. But speaking of playing games, we're 7 games in, gentlemen. Carson, I'll start with you. As this first 7 games have been, I felt like 3 lifetimes already from what we've experienced the first 3 to now winning 3 of their last 4. where are you at with the Buffalo Sabres right now? I know it's just kind of been a little bit everywhere, but how do you feel about this team? How do you feel turning the game on? And what do you think this next couple of months looks like for the Blue and Gold?
I'm not close to being back on the Sabres. I don't know if I ever really 100% was like these past few years, but I have something in my eye right now. Apologies. But
Great.
I think, again, we're still 3-4. We don't even have a winning record yet, and we're 7 games into the season. You lose both games in Toronto, again, the world's falling apart. So you win both games in Toronto, we're going to be the Stanley Cup champions this year. So I think there's got to be a level playing field. I've said this before, and it's kind of a cop-out answer, I know. But give me until the 15-game mark, and I'll tell you how I think this team's going to finish. Right now, I still think the projections with Jay Fresh and all those guys who work with the advanced analytics, they do a great job. I think they're going to be around 85 points still. But, again, it's early. I definitely am going to adjust that number as we get closer to that 15, 20-game mark. But these next stretch of games, I think, are going to be really, really important. You got to be able to find a way to at least get a point or two coming out of Toronto. Solid hockey team, and they put pucks in the net, plain and simple. I know Berube just called out the Matthews line. He wasn't a huge fan of that, so you know what that means. Matthews is probably going to score 2 the next game. So we'll have to see. They're going to have to play consistent hockey, and they're going to get guys back. This has been the huge thing we've been saying. Get your guys back. Greenway, Danforth, Kesselring, let those guys get healthy, throw those guys in the lineup, and hopefully you can hit the ground running. But right now, it's just your replacement guys who come in. This is when your depth has to shine. That's absolute finest. And so far, they've done a decent job. If they can just continue that, then I might be 100% back in. But right now, I'd label this as Maniac would say, the cautiously optimistic phase. This has been a lot of fun seeing this team turn it around lately and put pucks in the back of the net while also keeping pucks out of their own net. When years past, it was 7-5 finals and high score, and that's all great and dandy, but you got to be able to sustainably win hockey games. And right now, these last 4 games, they've looked pretty darn good, so I can't take that away from them. Hopefully they at least come out with a game here this weekend and take care of Columbus would be ideal, and then maybe we're talking about the wild card, and you can kind of pick momentum up from there. But right now, it's just game-by-game basis, and you're never as bad as you look, and you're never as good as you look. So hopefully they can keep it not as much as a roller coaster as it's been in years past.
So, Gatesy, the question was, are the Sabres back?
Are you back in on the Sabres might be a better way to phrase this. Because
ever since I announced the heel turn on the Sabres, they've been playing much better. So I'm going to turn the season around. I'm going to keep the stick
good.
But here's the thing, like, this is a better Sabres team. And I think we're now seeing why the metrics and the analytics were higher on them, because they have a better group of guys together. Like, Benson might never have put up the numbers. Doan might never have put up the numbers. But if you look at their deeper analytics, their expected goals on the ice, they're always on the good side of those numbers. And some of the players the Sabres got rid of, like Dylan Cousins, who is like a minus huge number since he's gone to Ottawa, are not. So I think this team is a better team. We're seeing better goaltending. What was the thing everybody said all offseason? If they get better goaltending, they're going to be in the race. And they're getting the goaltending. So I got to get going in a couple minutes, but these are going to be my final thoughts. The defense, it's been good. It hasn't been great. It's been good. But Kesselring will be back at some point. Once you pair him with Owen Power, I think that's going to help elevate Power to another level. Forwards, I like a lot of skill. We haven't even seen Tage go off yet. We've had no Norris. And I know 8 weeks is a long time without him. But if Norris can come back and play half the season, which I know at this point is asking a lot, like, that's only going to improve the top line on top of that. So I don't want to say back, but like, I think a lot of people, when they were seeing all these metrics and analytics predicting their point totals, they're like, that's stupid. What are they seeing? No, the thing that's great about metrics is they're not biased like us as fans. They don't care about your opinions or your past history or any of the other stupid nonsense that puts your opinions and slants things. It looks at how you are and how your players line up compared to all the other teams and players across the league. So when they come up and the consensus average is 90 points, they think the Sabres are a better team. Through 7 games, I think the Sabres are a better team.
Yeah.
The eye test tells me they're a better team. And they're playing without Norris, without Kesselring, without Greenway, without UPL, without several impact players. In 3 of those games, they had no Zach Benson. Coincidentally, they went 0-3 in those games. Since Benson's been back, 3-1. Oh my goodness. I think we just found one of our most valuable answers right there. Zach Benson matters. It's crazy how a 13th overall pick from 3 years ago, who's 20 years old, finally finding his game, can make a difference on a team.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. It's just amazing. But at the end of the day, what I'll say is this. This team still needs patience. They're not going to be perfect. There's going to be ups and downs. But as long as they can play this brand of hockey, hopefully the downs aren't as bad as they were in the past, and they can regain focus and they can keep playing better. And with better goaltending, they're going to be in a lot more of these games, as we've seen already. So I would say before the season, I projected 87 points. The Athletic just had a model come out before the Red Wings game. It said 87.5 points, probably because they got off to the 0-3 start. But who are the teams they're going to be competing for the final wild card spots with? Detroit, Ottawa, teams like that. The Rangers. Well, the Rangers game was pretty close, but the Rangers ended up getting goals, and their goalie shut down the Sabres. Boston was a disappointing performance. Montreal could have gone either way. But you look at it. The Sabres, for the most part, handled Detroit. That's a team that you're going to be competing with. The Sabres had a game against Ottawa that they were just all over them with goal scoring. Ottawa's the competition. So they actually kind of look good against the teams that they're going to be competing with. Will they be able to keep it up? I don't know. But it's encouraging. And on that note, I got to go. Thank you guys for letting me bounce in and out, but enjoy the rest of the show.
Anytime, Bunty. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Go Sabres.
Go Sabres. All right. I'm going to hop into quickly. Ender, yeah, Saberhood's job this season is to not, blow up every single loss. I think that's kind of the fun of it sometimes, where, you see the Sabres lose and you just go on Twitter and Sabres Twitter has gone absolutely nuclear. But I think that is a big thing because, they're not going 82-0, obviously, Carson. I think one thing why I do think they're back in some capacity is after the first 3 games, like all those post-game videos, I was just so dejected because there was no fire, there was no fight. They looked lost. It looked like they've never played before, and their just heart didn't look like it was there. After that Ottawa game, where you brought up earlier, where you have the lead going into the third, this feels great. They give up 2 quick goals. They call a timeout and score right after. That feels like such a pivotal moment in just the overall vibes and, culture and this team not falling apart. They were 0-3. There was Fire Adams chance in their home arena before. They're getting booed off the ice, a jersey thrown on the ice. It felt like the world was crumbling in. They dug deep. And ever since that moment, they've been a much better hockey team. They've been playing a lot better. We're still trying to get that full 60 minutes, but they've been working each game where they're not falling asleep at the wheel the entire third. They're not gone the whole first period. Last game they held Detroit without a shot for over 10 minutes into the game. That's something that they can build on. They're still a young team. They're still growing. I think that's why I feel, that I'm in a good spot with them right now, that they don't have to rely on Tage Thompson and Rasmus Dahlin putting on their Josh Allen capes every game to will them to a victory. They're not going to need, a goalie to absolutely steal a game. Their depth has been there. They need to continue that. They need to continue to elevate guys like Doan and Kozak and guys who play the right way, give them that ice time. I think that's something that Lindy Ruff is doing. That's a Lindy Ruff thing. And yeah, I think there's a lot of growth still for this team. And I just can't wait to see it once, you have Tage scoring one-timer goals in the power play, Dahlin running things the way he has sped in years past. But Cars, before we wrap things up, do you have any final thoughts on just, how you're feeling, maybe some overall talking points, just, how you're feeling going into another week of the Buffalo Sabres season?
This weekend's a big weekend. I just think 3-6 that's terrible. Like, that cannot happen. They at the very minimum have to leave with this, I think, as a split series. Mm-hmm. Let's hope for 1-0-1. I think Toronto is going to get one of the games one way or another. They're a good hockey team. They've been a good hockey team. Regular season, just merchants. So this is a big weekend coming up. Then you got Columbus just shortly after. I think you got to come away with that game if you're for real. Columbus is a team that's competing with you. I don't think Columbus is with us yet, but they're a team that's been on the rebuild, and they're trying to
good.
take that next step. Right, exactly. So just get healthy. They have to get healthy. Hopefully Zucker's not too banged up. He's looked sharp, 5 points in 7 games so far. 4 of those have been goals. The goaltending, it's if we can just keep that 80% of what we're getting right now would be electric. Eventually these guys are going to let some pucks in the back of the net. Kesselring, please get healthy. I want to see him play extremely badly right now, I think, along with the rest of Saberhood. And the bottom 6 has just got to continue to play how they're playing right now. You talk about special teams. Everybody wanted Appert gone, well, not gone, but they were ripping on him. They thought he should have been gone last season, right? So they're hitting. I believe they're the 9th best power play right now in the league. And
PK, they're like 96% on the kill. We even talk about that.
I was just about to bring that up. Penalty kill. Marty Wilford's doing a great job with those guys right now. They're at 96%. Typically, I know, Gatesy, this is probably a rule that you've heard of, is you want your power play and penalty kill to add to about 100%. Right now, the Sabres are at 121.4%. Like, that is, it's been 7 games. That number is going to eventually even out over time, but you can't ask for much better than that. That's textbook stuff. So, again, if they can just be productive and league average, at least in special teams, I think this team's got a chance the way that they play 5-on-5. And as long as we keep stopping pucks and Lyon and Ellis and I guess Luukkonen even now for that matter, if they can just play at around that 900 rate, I don't see why this team can't be competitive until we get some guys back fully healthy with Zucker, Danforth, Kesselring, Upi, and then eventually down the road, hopefully Norris. If they can come back and have Norris in the lineup and we're still in the thick of things, why not the Buffalo Sabres this year?
Why not the Buffalo Sabres is right. And it just feels like that. They're having success now. I'm so excited. Like I can't put into words to see Michael Kesselring in this team. You're seeing, the success that guys like Connor Timmins, Matthias Samuelson's having on the back end. You insert him in, this defense is going to get a lot better. Jordan Greenway brings such a different element when he's on the ice. Put him on the 4th line. That's going to add, you're going to add some goal scoring there a little bit, but the physicality, the size, you just can't teach that anywhere else. In the special teams, that's what gives me the most excitement. The Sabres, and Lindy Ruff talked all off season, they have to be able to win 1-goal games. Now they're getting, scoring from their power play. That is going to win them these 1-goal games. Steve had a comment earlier of just getting to overtime, getting these loser points. Having your power play, run at the level that it is, keeping it in the top 10 is going to do that for them. Get 1 extra goal a game is, earth-shattering. So as long as the Sabres can do that, big weekend ahead. I just, the game in Buffalo, I hate seeing Toronto here. All the fans. If there's one thing I can get in this world, I need the Sabres to win that game. If they can just kick their ass, like, this might sound so dumb. I want that arena to be like dead quiet.
Yes.
Because that means Toronto's not, winning. But, I want to see Sabres fans there. I want to see this team just take it to the Leafs, who've just kind of owned that building for a while. So it'll be a big weekend ahead, Cars. Big, just couple weeks ahead for the Sabres. Interested to see when, Tage, Dahlin are going to get to that superstardom level. But right now, the depth's keeping it together. They need to keep doing it. The Sabres team have taken some strides in the right direction. Jake, a sweep of Toronto would be earth-shattering across the league. And I can't imagine our show next week after a sweep of the Maple Leafs. And yeah, Ender, that game was magic. I still think about the Eichel telling the Toronto fans to sit down. Like, that was just a core drought memory.
Yep.
But folks, I want to thank everyone for tuning in tonight to the Crossing Swords podcast presented by Batavia Downs Gaming and Hotel at Carson Hayek. We had Mike Bundt join us just for a little bit. I am Gatesy35. Thank you again for everyone stopping by. Ender, the building was dead. It was awesome. Yeah, strange weekend. We got the Jays hating the Leafs. It's always fun to be a member of Buffalo Sports Fan. But again, thank you, folks. Again, big weekend ahead. Make sure you're following us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook at Crossing Swords Podcast. But until then, let's go Sabres.